Hello, today we're going to make a quick and easy Mediterranean style pita bread. And in fact, this bread will be so easy to make you can do it in less than half the time you usually do in traditional pita bread. This pita bread has 5 ingredients and that's all you need to make this. It takes 2 cups of all-purpose baking mix, which we use Jiffy, a half a cup of all-purpose flour, 3 tablespoons of olive oil, 1 5-ounce cup of non-dairy Greek yogurt, because this is non-dairy, and then a third a cup or a third a can of soda pop. That's the secret ingredient to allow this pita bread to give it a little rise. That way we don't have to wait. So let's start out with 2 cups of all-purpose baking mix that we're going to take and pour into a mixing bowl here. And we're happen to using Jiffy because it's just a nice generic and a nice flavor that we're going to actually pour in there. After we pour in the 2 cups of baking mix, we're going to put in half a cup of all-purpose flour. But we're not going to put it in all at once. We're going to measure this out and probably put in a little sprinkling, or about a third a cup right now before we put it into the next ingredient. We'll save this for later as we do the mix. The third ingredient after the all-purpose flour is 3 tablespoons of olive oil. Now, I've already measured out the 3 tablespoons of olive oil, and I'm going to create a little bit of a ridge area in here that I can put the olive oil in the middle of this mixture, so that way it doesn't just pour in everywhere until I have both the olive oil and the Greek yogurt, which we're going to put in next. We're going to put in 1 5-ounce cup non-dairy Greek yogurt, and I'm going to go ahead and put that into that same area that we have the olive oil, and then we'll be ready to do the whole mix together all at once. I'm going to spoon in this Greek yogurt so that way it's nice and clean. I don't want it to just fill all over the place. So I'll go ahead and put that right there in the middle, right next to the olive oil. And then once I have both the olive oil and the non-dairy Greek yogurt, we're going to mix all this together. And this should be sort of in a clumpy mixture that'll have a little bit of ridges and clumps in it. So we're going to go ahead and start mixing this together. And then after we mix everything in there, the Greek yogurt and the olive oil, we're going to have our final ingredient, which is 1/3 can of soda pop. Now, I happen to use Sprite. You can use 7-Up or even a generic clear soda that you would like to use in this particular mix. So I use Sprite because it has a little bit of sweetness and a little bit of lime in it, which I think is a really nice texture to it. And we're not going to pour it all in. We're just going to pour in a little bit at a time and then mix it as we go. So we'll alternate between adding the soda pop and maybe adding a little bit of flour in there just to keep the consistency. So we'll be going between that, and it's getting a little battery-like, so I'm going to add a little flour here so I can get it more into a dough-like texture. There is one additional ingredient if you'd like to add. You could add a little honey into this, and that would help give it a little sweetness to the actual flavor of the pita bread. Here you can see it's become a nice dough and a nice dough ball. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to move on to the final stage, which is preparing the cooking for these pita bread. I'm going to take a little more flour so that way the pita bread is not so sticky, or the dough that I have here is not so sticky. And then I'm going to knead that dough a little bit with my hands, and then it should be ready for the final stage here. Here we see it's nice together, it's not sticking to me, and so that's about what we want with that additional flour. So now we'll take a slice of non-dairy butter, and we're going to cut a little slab of butter and put it into the actual cooking dish. While the butter is melting in the cooking dish, we're going to take that ball of dough that we have here for the pita bread, and we're going to start cutting it into sections. We're going to start off by cutting it in half so that we take 1/2 and we put that back into the mixing bowl, and then we're going to do that over and over again until we get down into about 1/8 or 1/12 section. And here I have a very small section. That's about the right size I want. You can make it a little bigger if you want for sandwiches, but I like these pita breads for dipping. So I'm going to flatten this out and get it ready for putting it into the actual cooking dish here. And all you do is just place it right in there and it'll start cooking up. The hot plate should be about 350 degrees, and as you can see when you flip it over like a pancake, here it is. It's nice and brown on the one side, which is really good. I'm going to mix a little butter in that to get that other side cooked really well. And there you have it. That's how you make beautiful pita bread quickly. This will take less than half the time that traditional pita bread is, and it's very flavorful and rewarding. So I recommend you give this a try. Thank you very much.